My ex tried to steal my daughter in court, but she played the video that exposed everything. The courtroom felt colder than outside. Not literally, it was early spring in Boston, and the air still carried that sharp sting. But inside Courtroom 4C, the chill came from something else. Maybe it was Judge Camden's skeptical stare, or the way my ex-husband's lawyer clutched her briefcase like it held the whole truth. Or maybe it was the suit. The suit Blake Hamilton wore. Navy Armani. Tailored. Expensive in that loud, smug way. Probably cost more than my last 3 months of rent combined. And he sat there, smug and clean and perfect, while I tried to keep my hands from shaking. Why would a child want to stay with her mother when her father can provide a better environment? That was Judge Camden's question. He didn't say it with malice, but I could hear the assumption beneath it. That raising a child was about granite countertops and prep schools, not sleepless nights and peanut butter sandwiches and stuffed animals with names like Mr. Buttons. Blake didn't even try to hide his smirk. Marissa, his new wife, sat in the front row behind him. Silent. Straight-backed. The very picture of suburban grace. Savannah, my 7-year-old daughter, had been quiet all morning. Small for her age. Always a little shy. But the second that question hung in the air, something changed. She let go of my hand. Stood up. Held up her pink tablet with the purple butterfly case and said, crystal clear, I brought the video of what he does at night. The room went still. Even the stenographer stopped typing. Judge Camden blinked once, slowly. Excuse me. The video, Savannah said, stepping forward. I took it myself. He didn't know. And just like that, the entire tone of the trial flipped. My name is Tessa Morgan. If you're not following our channel, you might never see it again. But if you're subscribed and use the bell, congratulations. You'll always have access to the most interesting stories whenever you want to watch and listen. 6 months ago, I was just a night shift nurse at Riverbend Medical, raising my daughter Savannah alone after Blake walked out when she was barely 2. He used to send birthday cards late and child support checks even later. But we managed. We made Saturday pancakes into animal shapes, elephants with spaghetti trunks and giraffes that looked more like dinosaurs, but she loved them. We built a life without him. And then he got rich. Blake's tech startup exploded overnight. Went public. Stock options. Magazine interviews. And suddenly he wanted a real relationship with his daughter. First it was dinner once a month. Then weekends. Then came the custody papers, delivered by courier while I was still in scrubs and Savannah was finishing her math homework. He can't just take her. My neighbor Jenny had cried when she saw them. But he could. And he tried. In court, Blake's team spun the usual narrative. Tessa works nights. Savannah's passed around between sitters. She needs stability. She deserves better. What the court didn't see. Savannah clutching her bunny so tight it left marks. Or the way she cried after her first weekend at Blake's Willowdale Hills mansion. I don't want to go back, Mommy, she whispered. Mr. Buttons says it's not safe. That was the moment I knew something wasn't right. But I didn't realize how wrong until Savannah decided to fight back in her own quiet way. The more time she spent there, the more distant she became. Nightmares returned. She wet the bed again. Started hiding toys before she left for the weekend. Why are you putting Mr. Buttons in the laundry hamper, sweetie? So he's safe until I come back. I wanted to scream, but screaming wouldn't fix it. Blake's lawyer, MS. Whitmore, threw everything she had at me, photos of Savannah's luxury bedroom, proof of my irregular hours, letters from their family therapist, paid by Blake, claiming Savannah was distressed by separation. Meanwhile, I barely had enough gas money to get to work and back. The court evaluator came to my place on a Tuesday afternoon. She glanced at the water stain on the ceiling, and the mismatched chairs, and the hand-painted solar system on Savannah's ceiling without a word. You work nights. It's the shift that pays best. And I'm home when she gets out of school. We eat dinner together. Every day. She scribbled something in her notebook and laughed. No thank you. No goodbye. After her third weekend at Blake's, Savannah came home with a bruise on her wrist. She said she fell. Didn't look me in the eye. Later that night, while brushing her hair, I asked, Savvy, you know you can tell me anything, right? She stared into the mirror, then turned. Is it bad to record someone without asking? My stomach dropped. Why do you ask? She reached under her pillow, pulled out her tablet, opened a hidden folder labeled Homework Pics. Inside? Video clips. 3 of them. Dark, blurry, but the audio was crystal. Blake's voice, tell the judge you're scared when Mommy works nights. Savannah, but I'm not. Marissa, she's 7. Coach her better. Another video, Blake ranting about me. Marissa doing her skincare routine in the background. Savannah's our ticket out of this dump. Once we get custody, we're gone. What about her? Swiss boarding school. Problem solved. I didn't sleep that night. Just held Savannah and told her she'd done nothing wrong. The next morning, I made 2 calls. First to my sister Courtney. Second to Samantha Lee, a family law attorney who came highly recommended by Ginny. Samantha watched the videos with a poker face. This is solid. But the judge will want to know why a child made these. We need Savannah ready. Are you willing to let her testify? She's only 7. Exactly. Which is why her truth will matter even more. And now, back in that courtroom, Savannah had just flipped the entire trial on its head. Samantha rose quickly. Your Honor, we submitted Exhibit D earlier this week, a series of videos recorded by the minor. We asked the court to review them in chambers. Whitmore objected. Loudly. The videos are inadmissible. They weren't made by an adult. Because the adult was the abuser, Samantha snapped. Judge Camden stood. I'll review Exhibit D privately. We'll reconvene in 30 minutes. Blake leaned toward us across the aisle, furious. What did you do? Savannah looked him dead in the eye. Didn't say a word. 30 minutes never felt so long. Not when Savannah was born. Not when I waited for her fever to break during that nasty flu last year. Not even the night I sat by my mom's hospital bed, watching her heart monitor jump and drop. This was different. This wasn't just waiting for a verdict. It was waiting for someone in power to believe us. The courtroom had emptied during recess, but I stayed. So did Samantha, my lawyer. So did Blake, who now paced like a man whose walls were closing in fast. His lawyer, Ms. Whitmore, whispered urgently. But he wasn't listening. Not really. Not anymore. Because he knew what those videos held. And for once, his money couldn't delete, edit, or bury them. Savannah was sitting beside me, sketching on her tablet with a finger, something about a bear in a cape flying over a courthouse. Mr. Buttons, superhero attorney. Mom, she said quietly, do you think Judge Camden will listen? I looked down at her. I think he already is. When the bailiff opened the door again, the tension followed him in like smoke. Judge Camden stepped up to the bench, adjusted his glasses, and cleared his throat. His voice, when it came, was low, controlled, but furious underneath. After reviewing the submitted evidence, the court has serious concerns regarding the psychological and emotional safety of the minor child, Savannah Morgan, while under the care of Mr. Blake Hamilton and Mrs. Marissa Hamilton. You could have heard a pin drop. Even Blake stopped moving. The footage provided reveals coordinated attempts to manipulate the minor into making false claims. The coaching, recorded threats of alienation, and plans to remove the child from her mother and send her to a foreign institution are not only unethical, but in direct violation of this court's standards for parental conduct. Blake stood up, almost reflexively. Your Honor, sit down, Mr. Hamilton. The authority in Camden's voice silenced even Whitmore. This court finds that Mr. Hamilton's behavior constitutes emotional manipulation and coercion. Furthermore, Mrs. Marissa Hamilton's participation suggests a willful disregard for the child's well-being. Whitmore tried again. With all due respect, enough. Camden turned to me. To us. Ms. Morgan, full physical and legal custody of Savannah Morgan is hereby granted to you. Effective immediately. My breath caught. My chest burned with something I hadn't felt in months, relief. Mr. Hamilton will be granted supervised visitation only, once a month, at a state-supervised family center. This arrangement will be reevaluated after 6 months of mandatory parental counseling. Then Camden did something I didn't expect. He looked down at Savannah. Really looked. Miss Morgan, he said gently, you were very brave to speak up. I watched your videos. You told the truth when the adults around you didn't. That takes more courage than most people have. She blinked, then gave the smallest nod. Thank you, sir. Outside the courtroom, Samantha finally exhaled. It's done. I looked over at Blake, who now sat slumped in a chair like he'd been punched. His face pale. His expression unreadable. No gloating. No anger. Just empty. Savannah took my hand. Can we go now? Yeah, baby. We're going home. The ride back felt lighter somehow. We didn't talk much. Just music. And silence. Good silence. The kind where the air doesn't buzz with fear. At home, Savannah disappeared into her room and reappeared with Mr. Buttons. She held him up like Simba in The Lion King. He's the real hero. I laughed through tears. You both are. That night, Courtney, my sister, came by with cupcakes and apple juice. We sat on the porch while Savannah played hopscotch in the driveway. So, how does it feel to win? I took a deep breath. It doesn't feel like winning. It feels like surviving. Like finally being heard. She nodded. It feels like peace. The next day, Blake didn't call. Didn't show. Didn't send a message. Which was fine. Because Savannah had stopped asking about him weeks ago. She was done waiting. In the days that followed, something changed. She slept easier. She laughed louder. She stopped double-checking the locks on her door every night. And when I found her coloring one afternoon, I noticed her latest picture. It wasn't of us. It was of a courtroom. 3 stick figures at a big desk. And underneath it, a single word in bright pink marker, truth. Before we go further, don't forget to like this story, hit subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss what happens next. The dust had barely settled on Judge Camden's ruling when the first article dropped online. Headline: Tech exec Blake Hamilton loses custody in shocking courtroom reversal. I didn't know how they got the story so fast. Maybe a court clerk, maybe someone from the public gallery. All I knew was that by Thursday morning, Blake's face was on my news feed, and not in a good way. I didn't read the whole piece. I didn't need to. But this sentence stuck out. Hamilton and his wife, accused of emotionally manipulating a minor child, will now face supervised visitation protocols for the foreseeable future. For the first time in our entire relationship, marriage, divorce, custody war, Blake couldn't spin it. He couldn't buy the narrative. Because the truth had receipts. And those receipts had sound. And they were delivered by a 7-year-old girl with a teddy bear and a pink tablet. Savannah didn't care about headlines. She cared about her glitter glue drying properly on the Mother's Day card she made me. She cared about Mr. Buttons getting his own bed made of shoeboxes and tissue. She cared about breakfast smoothies and recess and whether frogs could climb trees. The rest? It didn't touch her. But me? It hit like a wave. 2 days after the verdict, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was a woman's voice, calm, professional. Hi, this is Caroline Dean. I'm a legal program coordinator for the Massachusetts Committee for Family Law Reform. We read about your case and would love to talk to you about helping us with a new pilot focused on child voice in custody hearings. I didn't call back. Not immediately. Because I wasn't ready to be the poster child for anything. I was still coming down from the fight. Still waking up at 3 a.m. in cold sweats. Still checking Savannah's bedroom 3 times a night just to make sure she was still breathing. But it wouldn't go away. By Monday, a second article came out. This one more focused. 7-year-old girl exposes emotional abuse in custody battle. Advocates push for new court standards. That night, Samantha, our lawyer, called me. They're serious. The courts are starting to talk about making digital evidence submissions child-friendly. It's your daughter's testimony that pushed it. I sat on the porch with a blanket over my knees, listening. I didn't mean for all this. But it happened. And it's helping people. You don't have to speak at any rally. Just let them name it after her. The protocol? Yeah. They want to call it the Savannah Morgan Statement Rule. I laughed, like, full-on ugly cried and laughed at the same time. She'll want to write that in glitter. Good, Samantha said. Let her. Blake tried once to reach out. 1 email. No subject line. Just 2 lines of text. Tell Savannah I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. I lost everything. I didn't respond. Because if you can't even say your daughter's name in the subject line, you don't get access to her anymore. Savannah had questions, sure. Do you think Daddy will come to my play? Probably not. Okay. She never asked the same thing twice. By summer, she bloomed. Literally. She joined the school garden club. Started writing stories and composition books about courtroom bears and brave little girls who fixed broken adults with hugs and glitter. Her counselor, the real one this time, not Blake's hand-picked puppet, told me she's recovering fast. But more importantly, she's resilient. She didn't just survive. She rebuilt. One afternoon, Savannah came home from school holding a gold star sticker and said, I told the teacher that just because someone has more money doesn't mean they're always right. Oh yeah. And she didn't even get mad. I smiled. That's because it's true. Also, I said it nicely. Even better. Courtney visited again one night in late June. We sat on the back porch with iced tea and the soft hum of cicadas. I saw the court website, she said. The new standards going into effect statewide. Already. Yup. They're calling it. Wait for it. The Buttons Clause. I almost spit out my tea. You're joking. I'm not. It's the informal name. Because the example in the training materials is about a stuffed bear with a recording device. I covered my mouth, laughing. Oh, she's gonna love this. And she did. Savannah made a certificate for Mr. Buttons. Crayon border. Gold sticker. Tiny paw print signature. Congratulations, Mr. Buttons, she whispered, pinning it to his felt chest. You're a real hero. It started with a phone call. Not dramatic. Not urgent. Just a calm voice on the other end asking, Ms. Morgan, would you be willing to attend a closed-door judicial training session next week in Worcester? It's a quiet event. A few family court judges, some child welfare reps. We want to explain how your daughter's case shaped the new standards. I said no at first. Too soon. Too much. But that night, Savannah overheard me explaining it to Courtney, and she said, "Do they have cookies there?" I blinked. What? If they have cookies, I'll go. So I changed my answer. The courthouse in Worcester wasn't anything special. No marble columns or fancy security. Just beige hallways and tired staff, and one folding table with a pitcher of lemonade and store-brand chocolate chip cookies. Savannah, of course, made a beeline for the snack table. I stood beside a woman named Judge Elena Brooks, one of the newer circuit judges from Springfield. She shook my hand firmly. "Your daughter's bravery did more for our system than any policy draft in a decade. She's 7. Exactly. I didn't give a speech. Didn't stand behind a podium or get handed a plaque. I just talked. To 5 judges, 4 social workers, and 2 attorneys. Told them what it felt like to be powerless while someone with money twisted the system. How it felt to watch your child become afraid of stuffed animals because she thought they might be taken away for speaking up. And what it felt like when, for once, the truth actually landed. Your Honor," I said softly to one skeptical-looking man with silver glasses, "I didn't need the system to fix everything. I just needed it to listen." Savannah colored quietly on the floor beside me. At one point, she held up her drawing. It was a cartoon courtroom again. This time, the bear wore a judge's robe, and everyone in the gallery had rainbow hearts above their heads. The event ended quietly, but as we left, Judge Brooks pulled me aside. "Would you allow Savannah to participate in a short video explaining the new rule?" Nothing dramatic, just her talking about what it feels like to be heard. I looked at Savannah. She was licking chocolate off her fingers. "Only if Mr. Buttons gets a line." Judge Brooks smiled. "He'll get top billing." We filmed it in a small studio 2 weeks later. Savannah sat on a stool in her unicorn hoodie, holding Mr. Buttons. The interviewer asked, "Why did you make the video?" She thought for a second. Then, "Because grown-ups weren't listening right." "What do you want other kids to know?" "That their voice matters, even if they're small." She paused. "Especially if they're small." The video went viral inside the legal world. It wasn't public, not in a TMZ way, but it was passed around like wildfire in law circles, advocacy programs, and school counselors' conferences. By fall, 5 states had adopted similar protocols under different names. But in Massachusetts, it stayed the Savannah Morgan standard. Blake never fought the ruling, never requested additional visitation, never emailed again. Whitmore dropped him as a client. His name disappeared from his company's About Us page. Rumor had it he sold his stake and moved to Arizona. Good. Let the desert dry out whatever was left of his conscience. One chilly October night, I found Savannah curled up in her beanbag, watching her own video. "You watching yourself?" "Mr. Buttons likes this part." "What about you?" She thought about it. "It makes me feel brave, even though it was scary." "It was scary, but you did it anyway." She nodded. Then, "Mom." "Yeah. Do you think Daddy feels bad?" "Maybe." "Do you?" "No." And that was the end of that. By Halloween, she dressed as a justice queen, her own invention. A judge's robe with sparkly boots and a tiara. Mr. Buttons, of course, came along in a matching outfit. Kids at school loved it. Teachers asked where she got the idea. She just said, "It's based on a true story." It started with an email from Savannah's principal. Subject line, Bravery Week Assembly. Special invitation, she wanted Savannah to give a short talk. Nothing big, just a 2-minute story during the elementary school's Week of Courage. Apparently, one of the guidance counselors had shared the Savannah Morgan video with staff during a training day. And now they wanted the real thing. The girl with the pink tablet and the bear with courtroom credentials. "I don't want to do a speech," Savannah said, lying upside down on the couch. "Those are boring. You could draw something instead. Can I bring Mr. Buttons? If you don't, I think he'd sue you." She rolled over and laughed. "Okay, but I want glitter. And a gavel." We made the gavel out of papier-mâché and spray paint. Glitter pink, of course. She called it her Justice Hammer. Courtney helped her build a cardboard courtroom for Mr. Buttons to sit in. And by the time the day arrived, Savannah walked into that school assembly in sparkly boots, robe over her dress, and Mr. Buttons tucked proudly under her arm. There were over 200 kids in the cafeteria. Teachers, parents, some people from the school board. And when the mic squeaked, she didn't even flinch. She stepped up, adjusted her glasses. Then, in her small but steady voice, said, "Hi, my name is Savannah Morgan. I'm 7. And once, I had to tell a hard truth when people weren't listening. It was scary, but I had help. From my mom, and from Mr. Buttons, and from a judge who listened." She held up her stuffed bear, then her gavel. "This is for all the kids who think they're too small to be strong. You're not. You're not." The applause wasn't loud, not at first. But it grew. And somewhere in the back, A teacher wiped her eyes. That night, we went for ice cream. 2 scoops for her. One for Mr. Buttons, who now had a bib made from a napkin. You think people liked it? She asked between bites. I think they loved it. I think I want to be a judge when I grow up. You'd be amazing. Can judges wear glitter? Only the really powerful ones. She grinned. Good. Then I'm gonna wear a lot. The letter came a week later. Plain envelope. No return address. The handwriting? Blake's. My stomach turned just seeing it. But I opened it anyway. Because sometimes closure comes in paper cuts. It was short. No defense. No denial. Just this. I saw the video. The real one. I never understood what I did until I watched it through her eyes. Tell Savannah I was wrong. I was selfish. I let someone else turn my fear into cruelty. And I hurt her. I don't deserve her forgiveness. But if she ever wonders if I cared, tell her the truth. I always did. I just didn't know how to show it. No signature. Just his name typed at the bottom. Blake. I didn't show Savannah. Not yet. Not because I wanted to hide it, but because her story was about power now, not pain. Maybe someday she'd want to read it. Maybe she wouldn't. But it would be her choice. Not his. That weekend, Samantha called. We have an opportunity, she said. A statewide advocacy role. Paid. Flexible. You be helping parents like you. Navigating the system. Giving testimony. I blinked. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you a legacy. I didn't answer right away. I walked into the living room. Savannah was building a pillow fort. Mr. Buttons was holding court on a stack of books inside. Mom, can we get a robe for Mr. Buttons that matches mine? We can do that. Can we make him a tiny law degree too? Absolutely. I picked up the phone. Yeah, Samantha. Let's talk. The first time I saw Savannah's name in an actual legal document, I cried in a gas station parking lot. I'd stopped on the way home from a court advocacy workshop, the kind I now helped lead, and while flipping through the updated Family Law Guidelines booklet, there it was, the Savannah Morgan Standard Section 4B, Paragraph 2, Child-Originated Testimony, including digital audio-video captured through personally held devices, shall be considered with equal weight as direct in court testimony, provided it meets authenticity criteria. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't in gold ink or bold font, but it was real and permanent. When I got home, Savannah was on the floor surrounded by glitter glue and markers. What you making? A courtroom for my beanie babies. Judge Buttons is training interns. I held up the page. Look. She squinted. Read. Then blinked. That's me. It's the rule they use now. For kids who need to be heard. She thought for a second. Cool. Then went back to gluing pom-poms onto a cardboard witness stand. Some legacies are loud. Others wear sparkly robes and carry teddy bears into history. 6 months later, a friend of mine from a courthouse in western Massachusetts messaged me. She just sat in on a case where a 9-year-old boy testified using a recorded clip made from his tablet. They used your protocol. Quoted Savannah by name. I showed the message to Savannah over breakfast. She was eating pancakes shaped like stars. Does that mean I helped him? It means you made it safer for him to tell the truth. She nodded slowly, then asked, can we send him a sticker? I think we can do better than that. By spring, Savannah had her own coloring book printed, Justice Bears, Speak Up Edition. It was just 20 pages of cartoon bears and courtrooms, but the messages were simple. You matter. Your truth is important. Even small voices make big noise. It sold out at every advocacy event we went to. Kids loved it. So did the adults who had once been kids like Savannah. At the second annual Family Court Conference, Judge Brooks introduced me before my keynote. She said, what started with one scared little girl in Boston is now guiding courtroom standards across 7 states. I walked up with shaking hands, looked out at the faces of parents, social workers, lawyers. I never meant to be an advocate, I said. I was just a mom trying to protect her kid. But what I learned is, justice isn't just a ruling. It's a process. And if we're not listening to the smallest voices in the room, we're not getting it right. Applause followed. But the moment that stuck, the young woman who approached me afterward, tears in her eyes. My daughter recorded her dad screaming at her. I didn't think anyone would believe us. She showed me a flash drive. Because of you, the judge did. Savannah's never once called herself a hero. But when I look at her now, laughing, growing, never shrinking, I see the truth. She changed the system. Not by shouting. Not by fighting. But by being brave when it mattered. One night, months after it all, I found her asleep with Mr. Buttons next to her. She'd made him a paper medal. It read, for bravery in the courtroom. First place. I sat beside her, brushing hair from her face, and whispered, we're safe. You did it. She didn't wake up. Just smiled in her sleep. And me? I stopped waiting for the next fight. Started building instead. A life. A mission. A future. Because somewhere out there, another child is whispering into a bear. And now, someone will listen. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it too. Also, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? What city and country? And have you, or someone you know, ever been through something like this?